let me show you what the kit is going to look like. I also want to show you that this little tag right here, we are going to make it, but I just want you to see that, I mean, it looks pretty with or without it. I just put it on with a little piece of foam tape, so it's just kind of grabbing right here. But yeah, I really kind of struggled. I was like, oh, and it looked kind of cute down here too. So this little tag can kind of travel. And you can use it wherever you want. If you decide to pick up an extra one of these kits and give it as a gift, you're going to have plenty of extra napkin in the kit that, you know, you can make a coordinating card or something like that. Maybe you want to give it to whoever's hosting Thanksgiving dinner, you know, things like that. Okay. The orange, when will the orange paint be back in stock? I think I'll have to ask about that. I know we have a replenishment order coming just about every week, seems like. So I'll double check about that. Okay. All right. You guys ready to get started on this? Yes, it's so pretty. I'm going to put it right here for a minute while we're creating. And let me show you what's in the kit. All right. So when you get your kit from us, it's going to look like this. Okay, your kit is going to look like this. Bring my camera in a little bit here. So it's going to look like this. You're going to have the wood Shadowbox, the wood pumpkin. You've got all kinds of napkins in here. And then a fun little bag right here with some beautiful crocheted lace, some jute, a button. You're going to have some wood pieces that we're going to put behind our pumpkin to be able to lift it, give it some lift. You're also, okay, Susan says the orange paint's going to be back in stock next week. Okay, awesome. And then you're also going to have this piece of paper, all right, this piece of white cardstock. This is not just for packing. We are going to use this because we're going to turn some of our napkins into paper pieces. Okay, we're going to make basically kind of designer paper with our napkin art so that we can create these 3D effects. Okay. Okay, she's all right. It's all fixed. I just saw Summer and I got confused, Kristen. So I just wanted to be sure that was right. All right, link is fixed. Thank you. So this is what's going to be in your kit. Now, I decided to, well, here, let me show you I'll show you the napkins and stuff too. All right, let me pull these things out. This is the shiplap wood pumpkin that's going to be in the kit. And you're getting quite a bit of this crocheted lace, all this fun stuff. And then these are the napkins. This is the napkin I'm choosing to use for the background of my Shadowbox. I love this napkin. It's so pretty. And then we're going to be using some of the leaves from this napkin. Okay, we're going to be cutting those out. We also are going to use some beautiful sunflowers in this Shadowbox. Some cute acorns. And then this is the napkin that I made my tag from. And as I mentioned, this could be a really cute card or something if you were going to give it as a gift. Okay. So several napkins. I like to collage with multiple pieces and it's going to look great. It's going to be awesome. All right. So let me tell you a little bit of prep work that I've done beforehand. What I want you to do when you get your kit, okay, is I want you to start with the piece of cardstock. All right. Start with the piece of cardstock. If you have some parchment paper, that's what I'm using here. I'm just going to put this piece of parchment paper down underneath my white cardstock. And you guys, I'm going to paint the entire thing with Mod Podge. Okay. We're going to do the iron-on method. That is my favorite method for altering paper with napkin art, for creating my own kind of designer paper. Okay, I love to do it. This is great technique for making cards, making tags, making your own embellishments, all of those kinds of things. Okay, none of these napkins are my design, Karen. No, these are some past napkins. But I have enjoyed making my own, though. That has been a lot of fun. So I'm just coming in and using, this is just Mod Podge Matte, by the way, which is the yellow label. This one right here. Okay. And so just coming in and painting this piece of cardstock. Now I want you to make sure you don't skip any spots. And because it's white, you may have to kind of lift it up, look at it in the light. We want to make sure we have a good, I'm going to say healthy coverage. It doesn't need to be flooded, but don't put it on too thin either. We're just going to paint over this whole entire piece of cardstock. This cardstock is a 65 pound, I believe. It's just smooth white 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And just, again, just make sure that you've got it everywhere. All the corners, all the edges, everywhere. We're going to cover up the majority of this piece of paper with napkins. Okay? Thank you for sprinkling. I appreciate you doing that. Thank you for doing that. Sprinkling it out there. So after you do this, you're going to set this aside to dry. Just set it aside to dry. And I actually did one prior to our craft and chat this morning. So it's drying. So I'm going to set this one aside. And we're just going to let it dry. All right. So while it's drying, the next thing I want you to do, put my lid on my Mod Podge here. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is go ahead and paint your shadow box. Okay. So I went ahead and did that. So you can see they always save the shadow boxes for me that have the little, like this had a little knot hole in it. I love stuff like that, but customers don't really like it that much. So they always save those for me. So this is the one that I painted out. And we're just painting this out, you guys, with vanilla frosting. So vanilla frosting, the paint I'm using is from Country Chic Paint. And vanilla frosting, you guys, is like a warm white. It's like an antique white, okay? It's not as creamy. If you want to go more creamy, I would say to use cheesecake, that color. But I'm using this vanilla frosting, beautiful warm white. Yvonne, you like the imperfections too? I do too. I just like the rustic kind of quality of things like that in wood. So yeah, I really like it. Okay, so I painted the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing. I painted the back, all the sides. I painted the top, the insides, right? This part. So the entire thing gets painted with vanilla frosting. Okay, the entire thing. All right. Once that's dry, then we're going to move on and work on something else. So because my other sheet of paper, I'm going to show you, this is the one I did right before we went live. I want you to see that when paper gets wet, it gets bumpy, it curls, it does all these weird things. And I don't want you to think there's anything wrong with that. That's just what paper does when it gets wet, okay? So trust me, when we put our napkin on here and we do the iron-on method, everything's going to be nice and flat again, okay? Everything will be nice and flat again. So we're actually going to do a little distressing on the shadow box first. I'm going to do a little sanding. I'm going to do a little inking, and I'll tell you which inks I'm using, all of that. But I think it's good to do this now at this stage. Let me grab my little foam sander here. Because when you're sanding these, they get dusty, right? They can get kind of dusty. So I'm using just kind of this worn out, it's a little bit worn foam sanding block, okay? So what does that mean it's worn? That means it's just not super gritty anymore. So I'm going to come along the top, and I apologize for the noise, but I'm going to do a little sanding. And what happens is you're going to see, especially with the chalk paints, it gets very dusty. It's that chalkiness, but just very little bit of sanding makes it feel just so smooth, just almost velvety smooth. Just takes very little. And basically this is what I call a buff. I'm buffing the paint. So yeah, it's going to be nice and chalky, but you guys are going to really like this. Okay, you're going to like how this feels. The other place I'm going to do this is going to be right up here on these edges. And feel free, if you want to do the back, you could do the back too. I'm not worried about the inside or the inside walls. I'm not going to worry about that. Really just coming along these edges. And it just makes a huge difference. You're going to like it. You're going to like how it feels. You can take a clean brush after you're done and just kind of will dust it off. I'm doing it over this parchment paper so it can kind of catch the dust. So just dust it right back off. All right. And now we're ready to go. Okay. I've got some damp paper towels here to clean the dust off my hands. Good afternoon from Georgia. Hi, Marlene. Hello, Ann from Florida. How are you doing? Did you have any damage or debris to pick up from the hurricane? Been seeing lots of pictures. Man, some scary stuff lately with the hurricanes. Ugh. All right. I'm going to use a couple of chalk inks now. And by the way, all of you, Florida, everybody up along the coastline, everybody that's been dealing with Hurricane Helene and now Milton, man, we have just been praying big prayers for you. So I hope that you're all safe and everything is okay. All right. Hi, Rose from Texas. I'm in Texas too. I'm in the North Fort Worth area, kind of DFW area, but on the Fort Worth side. Yeah, tell me where you're from. So the next thing I'm going to do, y'all, is I'm going to do a little bit of, you might think of this as distressing or inking. It's going to give us kind of a distressed look. And I'm going to use two ink colors. They're both browns, but can you tell that one of them is a little bit more golden? So I'm going to use Mocha Mama. That's just kind of a good, just all over brown. And then this color is called Roots, and it's more of a golden brown. I like both of these. So it's kind of fun to be able to come in and use multiple browns. So these are chalk inks. Chalk inks look great on top of chalk paint. Oh, they look so, so good. So I like to just do this with the applicator itself. I'm putting on the Mocha Mama first, just so you can kind of see how this is going to look. You see? It's going to look so good. This is Mocha Mama. It's more of an orangey brown. And again, this is going to be kind of a personal preference kind of thing. If you want to use little daubers or like a makeup sponge, you could do that. If you like more of a heavier inking or distressed kind of look, definitely you can go heavier in places. I usually try to keep myself under control when I'm going live with you guys, and then I lots of times will go back and I'll add a little more. I like inking. I love the way that it looks, and I'm going to come in and add a little bit kind of right up here on the top. So really just the sides and the top here, starting with my Mocha Mama, and then I'm going to come in with the Roots color, which is more of a golden brown. I think you're really going to like the combination. And like I said, if you don't want to do this directly from the pad, it's okay. Use a little piece of makeup, sponge, right? Or if you have a little dauber, a lot of people have little daubers for inking. Those are fun to use. So you can kind of see what's going on there. That's a really good indication right there. I'll probably come in and do a little bit on the back as well. Now let's add this Roots color. I think you're going to like this Roots color. It's more of a golden brown. It's more of a golden brown. And I like kind of hit or miss so that we have a couple different colors going on. Okay, we have a couple different colors going on now. And I just really like how that looks. So yes, feel free to ink these. If you don't have inks, you could dry brush maybe some paint. I really like this golden brown on here. And then, like I said, some of you are going to be really neat inkers. Some of you are going to be moderate inkers. And some of us are heavy inkers. All right. Okay, let's do a little bit now here. Something about just those two colors, it just really looks good together. And remember, this is a fall project, so this is going to give it the fall feels. And it just glides on. It just looks so good. It goes on over the chalk ink so well. Let me get a little bit in this little notch right there, that little knot hole. Okay, so again, I used Mocha Mama and Roots. These are chalk inks, so they're more chalky. They're not as wet as like a normal stamping ink. So I use them a lot with paper crafting, and then of course I use them. They work really well with my chalk inks. With my chalk paints. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just make sure everything is good and dry. You can kind of smudge it with your fingers if you have anywhere you want to smudge. Yes. Perfect. So now we've done like all that sanding. We've done all of that stuff before we start the napkin art part. And that's good because that way we don't accidentally drop an ink pad on the napkin. We don't get dust all over the napkin art. So it's good to go ahead and do this ahead of time. Let me show you the finished one again. Now the finished one's going to look a little, here's my finished one. See, so pretty. It's going to look great. Now we are going to add some of this crocheted lace around the top. I think you're really going to like that too. But just want you to see how pretty it is with the ink on there. Okay. All right. So now then we're going to go ahead and put our background napkin in next. Okay. I do get excited because I just love, we all kind of have our favorite things, right? And there's certain things that are just my favorite things to use. And yeah, I do get a little excited about them because I just love them. I love creating with them. So I'm going to cut a square from my napkin here. I'm using some of my napkins that were left over from the first one that I made. You guys are going to have a full napkin for this. And that way, and if you wanted to, you could even do some napkin art on the back of the back of your Shadowbox too, if you want to. All right, so let me make sure I have a nice clean edge here. And I am going to be using Mod Podge Matte again. And this time I'm going to be using a sheet of plastic wrap because the shadow boxes are nice and smooth. They're not rough at all. And I'm going to separate my napkin here. I do the lick and stick method. I know some people think it's really gross, but it works for me. If you don't want to do what I just did, you can always just put your fingertip, just a tiny little dot of Mod Podge on your finger, tap it together till it gets sticky, and you can do the same type of thing. All right. Now back to our Mod Podge, and again, Mod Podge Matte for this project, okay? Oh, Heather, no internet yet because of Helene. But are you watching on your phone? You must be watching on your phone then. Well, I'm glad you can at least connect somehow, some way. All right. I'm going to put a nice, again, a nice healthy coat of Mod Podge down inside of my Shadowbox. Make sure you get into those little corners. Now, this the napkin itself is the napkin square itself is a little over 6 inches. You're going to have just a tiny bit of a border on the background area. So we're just going to try to center it as best we can. Honestly, if you have trouble centering things, just try to get the top lined up, because there's going to be so much happening at the bottom. No one will ever see that part, because that's where all of our napkin art and our other stuff is going to go. So when I get ready to lay this in here, I'm going to just kind of let it fall. I'm going to let it fall. And like I said, if you want to try to center it, that's fine. But my goal is really to get it as close here to the top as possible. Now, just kind of tap that in with your fingers, just gently. Now I'm going to take my plastic wrap. Okay. This plastic wrap is Deli Bakery Sheets from Amazon. I like it because it doesn't cling to itself, and it's perfect for smoothing. And if you have done napkin art in the past and you've had trouble with lots of wrinkles and just big issues, I'm telling you, the plastic wrap will be a game changer for you. Okay. It's a way that you can get in. I kind of start in the center and then start to move my way around the edges. Okay. But you're going to get a much better, what should I say, smoother adhesion of your napkins than you would if you were just using a pounce brush, like we do sometimes on rough surfaces. We use a chip brush for that. Okay. Now, because we have these corners to contend with, you guys, I'm looking for my pounce brush right now. My little chip brush. Here's my little chip brush. I still have the plastic wrap on it, but I am going to take this and I'm going to really kind of push in the corners. It's hard sometimes to get your fingers in there. So just use a paintbrush. I'm going to use my chip brush because these chip brushes have natural bristle brushes, so they're a lot stronger. So just really kind of pounce corners, edges, just because it's hard sometimes to get our fingers in there, especially if you have kind of fat fingers like me. All right, that should be good. Now we're just going to gently peel back our plastic wrap. Now you could use plastic wrap from your kitchen. You could even use like saran wrap, even though it does cling to itself. You can still use that. You can cut apart a sandwich baggie. I really enjoy using these though, because they come out just like a Kleenex, right? Just like a Kleenex box. They're just really easy to use. All right, now that we have the background in, we're going to dry this. I'm going to make sure it's somewhat dry. I love these little birds in the wreaths. Aren't they cute? So cute. With fall leaves and acorns. Just really cute. And once this is fairly dry, pretty dry, I'm going to put a top coat over it. Okay, and just a quick, thin top coat of Mod Podge just to protect the napkin. Just to seal it and protect it. Make sure you kind of get into those corners. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good there. And like I said, this will just be just a nice thin coat. This is just to seal our napkin. Remember, it's a very thin tissue, and we want to protect it. I'm going to need a little more Mod Podge here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn my iron on at this stage. I've got my iron over here on my little portable ironing table. So while this is drying, these are the steps I would follow, because that way certain things are drying while you're doing other things. Just makes more efficient process sometimes. And if you do happen to get one to give as a gift, as like a thank you gift or something, during this thankful season that we're approaching, I would make them at the same time. I would just kind of assembly line it. Yeah. How many of you have ordered a Shadowbox? Yeah, it's going to look kind of white and milky, but it's going to dry nice and clear. Okay. All right. I'm going to move this. We're going to let this dry. And I'm going to bring back our Mod Podged cardstock. This is in your kit. Don't throw this piece of paper away when you get your kit. You're going to think that it's just like for packing or something. It's not. We're going to do an iron-on method to create our fun little embellishments that we're going to basically structure for 3D napkin art. Okay? Yay. Thank you guys for your orders. Thank you so much for your orders. I do appreciate that. You're going to really like this project. It's so pretty. Actually, I'm rethinking my process now. I think we might go ahead and do the pumpkin. Let's do the pumpkin before we do this. That way the paint and the crackle and everything can be drying. Yeah, I think that'll be better. All right, so not this just yet. Just don't throw it away. I painted it. If you came on late, I have painted this with Mod Podge and it is drying. Okay, it's drying. All right, let's go ahead and play with our pumpkin. Let's do our pumpkin. So I'm going to grab my pumpkin from the kit. I'll go ahead and get all my stuff out of here. So I did not use this shadow box. They can reuse it. All right. Pumpkin time. You guys ready? This pumpkin is going to be 2 colors. All right. We're going to paint it out 2 colors. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to use crackle medium on it. So we're going to paint it a base coat color. We're going to put the crackle medium on. We're going to dry the crackle medium. We're going to put a top coat color on. So the base coat is actually what the color that's going to show through the cracks. Okay. And my base coat color is going to be this color called Paint the Town. It is a beautiful, kind of like a brick red, just kind of a brick red type color. Really, really pretty. So you may think it's unusual to use this color for a pumpkin, but I promise you it's going to look so good. All right. And if you have, you know, a certain red paint in your stash, this is not like a fire engine red. It is more of a kind of a brick red. Okay. More of just a darker tone, darker hue of red. And it looks really good coming through the cracks of our pumpkin. Yes. So our top coat color is, this color is Paint the Town. I know they have fun names for their paint colors. And then the color I'm using on the top is this beautiful orange color called Persimmon. Check your stash though. You may have colors that will work in your stash. Always good for us to check our stash first. So, and I'm not really worried about the sides of the pumpkin, any of that. Really just getting this paint color on the top. It doesn't have to be a great coat. It doesn't have to be a great coat of paint. Then we're going to dry it. I'm not doing anything really to separate the, what do you call it? The little shiplap valleys on this. We're going to crackle the whole thing. So you don't really have to go in and clean out the valleys or anything like that unless you just want to. Isn't it a pretty color red? So pretty. Doesn't have to be a perfect coat. Again, it's just going to be showing through the cracklage. Yes. Thank you guys again for ordering. Thank you. There will be a Christmas shadow box later. I can't believe we're already, man, this whole year has just flown by. It just seems crazy to me. It has just flown by. All right, let's put this over here. Now that I have my Paint the Town color, this is kind of a brick red, and we're going to use some, grab a popsicle stick back here. We're going to use some Crackle Medium, okay? Now I'm using the Country Chic Paint brand Crackle Medium. I'm sure there are lots of different Crackle Mediums out there on the market. So one of the tips I can give you about Crackle Medium is it is best to stir, not shake. Okay, stir, not shake. And if your Crackle Medium comes in like a squeeze bottle or something, squeeze some out into a little plate or in a little cup or something and stir it really good. Crackle Medium, just like paints, like lots of things, lots of mediums out there, when it sits on the shelf, it will settle. The good stuff kind of settles at the bottom. So we want to stir it up. The reason I don't shake it, it's kind of like stain. You don't ever shake stain either. You get those micro bubbles, right? Those little micro bubbles. So it's best to just stir it up. And you can't really see it on camera, but there's kind of this white kind of cloudy look that happens as you stir it up. So that's going to be important to do that. And I usually just use a, popsicle stick or something like that. Okay, let's paint this on. And it doesn't matter what direction you go when you paint on your Crackle Medium. Okay, it doesn't matter. What matters is going to be when we paint on the top coat. Okay, so for right now, it doesn't matter. You can put it on any which way. And we want, again, a nice healthy coat. It should look really nice and wet. Okay, don't be too chintzy with it. Don't be too thin with it. And I'm just going to kind of turn it. I kind of go both ways with it. I just want to be sure I don't miss any spots. Okay, so I think you can kind of see that in the light. See how wet? It's going to look nice and wet like that. And now we let it dry. Now you can let it dry on its own, or you can help it along. If you help it along, you can do that with your heat tool. If you have like a craft heat tool, if you have a super duper like industrial strength heat gun, like you got at the hardware store, something really industrial, you can use that too. Just don't get it too close. Okay, don't get it too close. These craft tools like this one, the heated craft tool, you can get it fairly close and it doesn't hurt. It won't hurt anything. And literally you're just going to go over it to start drying it. And I really like for the majority of it to be dry. That's my preference, because when it's not, and some of the Crackle Mediums out there in the industry will tell you to put your top coat on when the Crackle Medium is tacky, like not quite dry, a little bit wet, but tacky, that kind of thing. I really like for the majority of mine to be dry, because if I don't, I get what's called drag. And what happens with drag is when I put my top coat on and it's too wet, it just the paint kind of drags the medium, so it looks more streaky rather than crackled. That makes sense? So it doesn't take long for this to dry. You can see. Hang on. I'll show you as it's drying. Do you see? It's drying pretty quick. Doesn't take long. But if you have one of those crazy industrial strength heat guns, you know what I'm talking about. Don't get it too close. If you start to see bubbles, if you start to see the paint bubbling and stuff, it's too much heat. Okay, you need to just back off. Just bring your heat tool back away from it. If it's a craft tool like this, or even a hair dryer, you're fine to get in a little closer. Okay, I think I'm pretty good here. Okay. So you can see it just kind of turns to this matte finish. There's still just a couple little spots, but that's okay. All right. But no big wet spots. Okay. So the color I'm going to use on the top, Persimmon is the name of this color, Persimmon. And I think this is the orange color people have been asking for. We've been going through a lot of these colors because of fall. Everybody's doing their fall crafting. We have more paint coming in this next week. So yeah, we'll have more. I agree. The CC Crackle is the best. The Country Chic Crackle is the best. Belinda is out there. She's promoting it. It's because it really is. There are lots of crackle mediums. I live in Texas, right? It gets very hot here in the summer. We have to deal with humidity and levels and just different things. And some crackle mediums are so temperamental to the weather. They're temperamental to moisture. They're temperamental to humidity, heat, all of those things, where this one, it just works right every time. It always works, which is great. Okay. So when we put this crackle medium on, you guys, we're going to, you can start off kind of thick. In fact, I'm going to put a piece of, again, another piece of parchment paper underneath here. So I'm going to get, a good little amount on my brush. A good amount. I shouldn't say good little. Good amount of paint on my brush. And I'm going to start down here. Okay. I'm going to go across, and you cannot go back over your paint strokes. So see how my hand just naturally lifted up? I flip my brush around and I continue it out. Okay. Now the reason we have to do it like this is because it starts reacting immediately. And if you go back and forth over your paint strokes, you've covered up the crackle. You've covered up where it's activated. So thicker spots of paint generally get thicker cracklage. Thinner areas of paint generally get thinner cracklage. I like it when projects have a little bit of both. So I just don't worry about it too much. I just kind of start. When my hand lifts up naturally, I just turn the brush over. If it lifts up again, I turn it over. If I need to get more paint, I get more paint. Okay. So I'm going to keep going here. And then I'll show you where it's already working. I'll hold it up close here in just a second. Go over the stem, go over everything. Okay. Let me show you. It's already crackling. See the crackle starting? Doesn't that red color look great underneath the orange? So you're going to notice that you're going to see some paint ridges, right? You're going to see a few paint ridges. Well, here's the deal. If you're using chalk and mineral based paints, if you're patient, which I know is really hard. That's really hard. It's hard for me too when I'm crafting. It's very hard to be patient. I'm ready to move to the next step, right? But if I'm patient and I leave it alone and I don't put any heat on it, I just leave it alone, the paint will self-level. It will self-level. So again, I just want to show you all the crackles starting. I never get tired of crackle. I'm crazy for it. I just love watching it happen. It's just kind of like magic to me. I love to watch it time and time again. So I'm not going to completely clean up my brush yet, though, because I'm going to do a little bit of dry brush around the edges, but I'm going to wait and let this kind of do its thing. So this is going to just start to self-level. It's going to kind of do its thing. And while that's happening, once it kind of self-levels, then I can come back in with my heat tool, and your heat will help to activate the crackle process even more. Okay. Again, same thing with those industrial heat guns. Just be careful. Don't get the heat too close. Okay. You love crackling too, Sandy? Yes. I just love it. Cracklage. Yes. That's a great way. I love that word for it. Dixie. It is so good, and it works every single time. every single time. I never have an issue with it. So I'm going to let this just kind of self-level out. Now, if I'm impatient and I just can't wait, if I just can't wait and I decide to go ahead and put the heat to it, you'll be drying those little ridges in place. You can go in with sandpaper and kind of sand them down a little bit, but then you get some of the dust into the cracklage. So I'm just going to be patient. We're going to be patient, and I'm going to show you that if we're patient, this really will work. Okay. Now I'm going to leave my brush here because I'm going to just do a little dry brush around the sides of the pumpkin here in just a minute. Okay. So bye-bye, pumpkin. We're going to move this up here. We're going to let it just kind of do its thing up here. With that paint self-level, it's looking really good. And now let's go to this. Okay, now let's go to this. Kind of staging it all out for you. This is the way I would create it at home. So that way, you know, some things are drying, some things are doing this, and we can kind of stage out all of the steps. So this is my cardstock that came in the kit that you didn't throw away. Don't throw it away. I've painted it with Mod Podge. It's now completely dry, okay? And I'm sure you can see that it's not flat, right? It's kind of lumpy, bumpy. It's kind of curly. That's what happens to paper when it gets wet. It's going to be fine, though, because we're going to use the iron-on method today. Oops, let me get my cord. We're going to use the iron-on method today. I'm using my craft iron here. With our napkin art, it's going to flatten everything right back out, okay? All right, so let's go to our napkins and see what we need to add to this dried, it's completely dry Mod Podge paper. And for those of you that are card makers or you like to make tags or anything like that, I love to use this method for my leftover bits and pieces of napkins. Okay. And I usually will do up several of these all at once, and then I cut them down into the sizes I use the most. And then you could have them in a little bin or somewhere on your craft table for months. I mean, it doesn't matter. Once this is dry, they won't stick to each other once it's dry. So I just cut them up into the sizes I use the most, and I just have them at the ready, like they're just ready to go. If you want to use them for card fronts or for making cute tags or embellishments, things like that, a great thing to do with your scraps. Okay, great to do with your scraps. All right, so we use this on the background, so we're not using that one. We are going to use quite a bit of this one right here. This is the sunflower napkin that you're going to receive. Now, you're going to get this whole napkin, but we won't necessarily be using this whole napkin, okay? So I'm really just using, let me look at it. I think I used two. I really just used two sunflowers, and I like these two that are kind of sort of connected right here. Now, there's several here that are kind of connected. I mean, you can choose to use whichever ones you want. Again, if you hang on to your scrap pieces, right? If you hang on to your scrap pieces, you could do something really pretty on the back of your shadow box. You could make some coordinating cards or thankful for you tags or whatever you want to with your remaining pieces. We like to give you some extra because sometimes we have oopsies, right? Sometimes we have oopsies and things happen and something tears or, you know, something happens. And that's one of the great things about napkin art is we can do a do-over. We can patch something that tore. We can take another little piece, you know, and cut it and put it in place. So it's great for patch-ups and things like that. All right, when it comes to our leaves here, I would say to do this on your leaves, okay? I would probably just go ahead and cut the napkin right in half-ish. Doesn't have to be super straight. And we're going to do a big chunk of this is going to be for our leaves. So in fact, I think I'll take it like this. I'll put it kind of down here at the bottom. And then this should give us plenty of leaves to work with. Okay, plenty of leaves to work with. Okay. All right. We are going to need to separate these. We only want the top ply, only the top ply. And all of these napkins in this kit, you guys, have 3 plies. So make sure you're getting 2 plies off. Now, sometimes you get lucky and both plies come off at the same time, but let's make sure we get all of that off. We'll put this one kind of down here. I'm going to put my sunflowers up here. And after you learn this method, then you can get your own cardstock, paint it up with Mod Podge, right? I like the white just because it really makes the napkins pop. Now we're also going to do some acorns here, but you're not going to need a lot of acorns. You're going to get 2 squares, basically a half a napkin of acorns in your kit. Let's see, let me see here. I think I'm going to cut this kind of through the middle. Yeah, I'm going to cut it right about here. We're not going to need a ton of acorns, but they sure are cute. And who knows, you may want to put more in your shadow box. I'm going to make sure that I have about that many. What is that? I have a pair and 3 singles. So a pair and 3 singles. Save all this. You're going to have plenty to use for other things. Let's get our plies off. My paint is self-leveling. I can see it. It's happening. All right. And then for those of you that want to make the little tag, if you want to make the little tag, you're only going to need 1 square of this. And we're going to cut it down thinner, more like a tag shape. Okay. Right now it's more of a square. So I'm going to cut it down thinner, more of a tag shape. Now you can do this with your, you can mark this up with a ruler. And I'm going to cut off some of the top and some of the bottom. Cute, cute, cute. All right, I got this one a little wonky. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do my little tag shape right over here. So all of the plies have been removed, and I'm just laying these pieces onto my white Mod Podged cardstock. Okay. I'm going to bring this one over because I want this piece right here. So I'm going to stick that in that corner. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is take another piece of parchment paper, okay? A clean sheet of parchment paper to put on top of everything. If anything kind of moves around, you can go back and kind of slide things, where you want them to be, okay? All right, everybody can see that okay? And then I am on a heat-resistant craft mat right now, so I'm going to bring my iron and I'm going to put it down right on top of the parchment paper. You don't ever want your iron to touch directly to whatever it is. That's why I have parchment paper on the top. And I have my iron set on its highest, hottest setting. This is the iron-on method. You can do the iron-on method on paper, on wood, on fabric, anything that's smooth. It does need to be smooth. It's not going to work well on something that's super textured. So like if it is a piece of wood, it's got to be really smooth. Okay. So basically what's happening is the iron is just reactivating the Mod Podge. It's reactivating the Mod Podge, and then because of the pressure of the iron, I'm pressing down, pushing. It's kind of like the napkin tissue is melding into the paper. It's literally with the Mod Podge and everything, it's kind of melding right into the paper. So it's going to actually become part of the paper, okay? And it's going to be fabulous. So you can always check it. And if you realize you have like a corner that's not, you know, fully down, we can always go back. I usually just kind of run your fingers over it. We can always go back and heat over it again. Okay. My favorite method for napkinizing paper, hands down. Okay. There are lots of ways to do it. I know you see ways. You see ways out there on Pinterest and YouTube and all the things. But I'm going to show you what I think is the best way. And this, for me, by far, and I do this a lot, okay? I do this a lot. For me, by far, if it's anything related to paper crafting, to a paper surface, I like the iron-on method, okay? I really like the iron-on method. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. We can still use this piece. So I'll stick it over here on my little tray. And then let's work this off of the parchment. And I just want you to see that it is, you know, it is on there. We have now made decorative paper from our napkins. Okay. So this piece that hangs off the edge, we'll just cut that off. No biggie. All right. Now we're going to do something else to this piece of paper. All right. But we need it to cool for a minute. All right. We need it to cool off for a minute. It's still like my paper. It all still feels really warm from the iron. I mean, I can touch it. It's not like hot, but it's warm. It needs to feel cool because we are going to do pen work on some of this stuff. Okay. We're going to do some pen work on some of this stuff. And so if I'm going to do some pen work on top of napkin art, okay, napkinized paper. Napkinized is my word, you guys. Napkinized is my word for anything we alter with napkins. Okay, so we're going to put a very thin coat of Mod Podge on top of this because I want my pen work to be crisp. And if I don't, what happens is if I take a pen, I like to use pit pens for this. If I take a pen to some of this and I haven't sealed the napkin, the napkin tries to kind of absorb it because that's what a napkin's job in life is to absorb. And so it gets kind of fuzzy and not real crisp. Okay. So the other thing is we're using this for 3D art. All right. We're going to do some 3D art. Having that top coat of Mod Podge is also going to stabilize our paper a little more. So here's the thing though. Okay. This is important. If you get in a hurry and you decide to put that top coat of Mod Podge on while this is still warm, sometimes it can try to bubble. It can try to lift because when it's still warm, you have to know that Mod Podge hasn't completely hardened yet. Okay. It hasn't hardened yet. This happens a lot with decoupage in general. People tend to put the top coat on way too soon, but in the bottom coat of Mod Podge hasn't hardened yet. So the napkin tries to lift. Okay. So it is important. Okay. It is important. Let's see. Carolyn says in regards to fabric void, that include duck and or canvas fabrics, any fabrics. Yeah. I would stay away from something that's really, again, kind of a, you could do it on burlap. You could do it on, like, I wouldn't do it on something fuzzy, you know, like minky or, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can do it on burlap. You can do it on muslin. You can do it on cotton fabrics, on canvas cloth, duck cloth, all of that stuff. Okay. So this is still cooling. So because it's still cooling, I'm going to now put this away for just a second. And we're going to go back to our pumpkin because I want you to see that it's self-leveled. People don't believe me sometimes when I tell them these things, but look, do you see paint ridges? Do you see any paint ridges? You don't, because we allowed it time to self-level, right? The chalk and mineral-based paint, look how awesome that crackle looks. I love these two colors together for a pumpkin. I think it looks great. So we allowed it to self-level, and it will happen. You just have to give it time and allow it to do so. So I'm going to take my heat tool now and just come back, and I'm going to bring the heat in kind of close. Okay. The heat is going to activate the crackle even more. And so, and in fact, sometimes if you allow the heat to stay there long enough, you get more of kind of a chippy look, which is kind of fun. So all I'm doing is just kind of going over the crackle, kind of slow, and you're going to see that it's going to separate even more. It's going to separate a little bit more cracklage, and it's going to look fabulous. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's good. That's some good crackle right there. That's some good crackle. All right, so let's bring back I'm just using the lid here, more of a dry brush than anything. And I'm just going to dry brush a little bit of this orange paint on the sides. You don't have to worry about the back. We're never going to see the back in the Shadowbox. So let's just basically kind of like cleaning up your brush. We'll clean up the brush on the sides of our pumpkin, around the stem. Perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. We like it to be kind of a dry brush look. Okay. All right. We don't need orange paint anymore. This is persimmon, actually, is the color. I should use the correct paint color name. Let's kind of dry the sides here. And then we're going to do a little inking. Okay. Just a little bit of inking. And then our pumpkin is going to be done and ready for our Shadowbox. Yes. All right. I'm going to go back to those same two colors that we used earlier, Mocha Mama and Roots. You can use any browns, really, whatever browns that you want to use. And I just want to have a little bit of this brown color. You can go heavier on the stem, just kind of bringing it around the edges real fast. You can see it's just kind of darkening up the edges here. And again, I'm using the Mocha Mama first. Now I'm going to go in with the Roots color, this golden brown. Just really like that. I'm going to go a little heavier on the stem right here. There we go. All right, that's all I'm doing to the pumpkin. And it's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. All right, any questions on our pumpkin? It looks great. Any question? Is there a trick to get smaller cracks like a porcelain look? The thinner the paint, typically the thinner the crackle. The thicker the paint, the thicker the crackle, meaning the cracklage, the cracks that you see through. So you can tell right here, obviously this was thicker, right? But let's look up here. This was thinner. Okay, so that was thicker. This was thinner. So yeah, definitely the thinner the paint, the more delicate or the thinner the cracklage. The thicker the paint, the bigger, right? The bigger the cracklage. Okay, so I hope that helps. All right, we are done with that. Actually, I'm just going to turn this over. Put our pumpkin to the side. We're going to bring back our paper. Okay, now when I touch my paper, it's cool. It's cool. It's not warm at all. It's completely cool. So now then I'm going to, again, back with my Mod Podge mat. My brush is getting kind of stiff. Let me kind of work this around. A thin coat. Just a thin coat. Nice thin coat. And then we'll dry it with our, I'll dry it with my heat tool. It's going to dry super fast, and then we're going to cut it out. Just don't do this step until, if you're doing the iron-on method, don't do this step until that paper needs to feel cool to the touch. Okay? And I'm telling you this because I want your projects to turn out fabulous little tips and tricks and things with these techniques. If you'll follow those steps, it'll turn out great every single time. How many of you watching are in the Napkin Club? Anybody in the Napkin Club out there? I know you are because I see you. I see your names and your faces. Yeah, if you're in the Napkin Club, you know how important sometimes just these little steps can be in a project going, you know, sideways. If you miss a little step or something, and that can definitely make a difference in the overall look of your projects. So don't skip these steps. These steps are here for a reason, and they definitely will help your projects to look amazing. All right, we are done. Just a thin coat, really thin, super thin, easy. If you're not in the Napkin Club and you want to be, then here's what you need to do. Okay, we send out a variety of napkins every month. We have our private Facebook group. We do all kinds of fun things in there. We have different projects that we do, different techniques. You'll have access to past workshops and past video tutorials, all of that, as well as what's coming in the future. The only way to get in the Napkin Club right now is to get on our wait list. All right, we have a wait list going, and that is who we go to first when we have open spots. So as spots open, we go to the wait list first. So if you're interested at all in learning more about napkin art and receiving some gorgeous, beautiful, unique napkins every month, go get yourself on the wait list. Cheryl McCarson's been with me. I forgot to mention that earlier, but she's out here in the chat, and she can give you the link to the Napkin Club, and so you can go over and get your name on that wait list. We would love to get you in if we can, if and when we can, when spots open. Okay. All right. So this is drying nicely. I have no bubbles. I have no issues here because I let it cool. I let the paper completely cool. All right. Everything's feeling good. It's not sticky. It's not tacky. All the things. All right, my friends. We are ready. We are ready to start doing some cutting. If you have some good kind of fussy cutting type scissors, I would recommend those. And I'm looking, I have this pair. I'm going to grab another pair out of my bag. Hang on one second. I have a certain pair I want to use. All right. So if you have something like this or like this, these are great options for detail cutting, for fussy cutting, detail cutting. This one, I use these a lot. This one has a spring action with it, which is nice. If you have trouble with your hands, it's nice to have that little bit of spring action. These are both scissors that we carry. And so let's go ahead and start here on leaves. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab the Shadowbox sample. Everybody's Shadowbox can turn out a little different, right? Like everybody's can turn out a little different. I'm using 2 sunflowers. I'm using a variety of leaves. And so on this napkin, you're going to see some of these leaves kind of overlap. So in the beginning, just kind of start cutting around, like I'm going to cut this little cluster right here. All right. I'm going to kind of fussy cut around this. It's okay if you keep some of the straight sides. When we get ready to put it into the Shadowbox itself, we'll come back and we'll do a little more cut. Oh, darn. I meant to keep that. Okay. I'll go this way. Can't talk and cut at the same time, clearly. All right. We'll do even a little more cutting when we actually start to get it into the Shadowbox. I don't want you to feel like you have to cut right on the details. You can bubble cut kind of around it. We are going to do some pen work, and that is going to make a difference. So even like this one right here, for starters, let's just start there. Just start there. Okay, we're going to make kind of like these little clusters of leaves, and then we'll cut them even more, again, as we get them into the shadow box. Okay, this is a great one right here. You can use whichever leaves you want. And even a cluster like this, we may wind up coming and cutting 1 or 2 off of it. We're just kind of giving ourselves some options. And again, it's okay to just kind of bubble cut around these. See that? Just kind of bubble cut. Okay, so now we have another little leaf cluster. I really love this gold leaf right here. Now, part of it is cut off the edge, but I'm going to cut it out anyway because that little edge right there actually may work to my advantage. Don't worry too much about stems, more so just the leaf. The other thing I'm going to be using is going to be foam tape. If you have pop dots, you can use that because we are going to make this very 3D. So we're going to be stacking them different layers. So see how that has that little cut edge? We're just going to keep that. Keep that. I'll show you how that's going to work here in a moment. I'm going to cut this other gold leaf too. I like this gold leaf. Just keep the black stuff on it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on this wonderful Friday. I know you guys are probably so excited for the weekend to come. And hopefully maybe this craft and chat, you'll learn a few new things. Maybe you'll do a little crafting this weekend, right? Okay, so I'm going to hang on to that one. And then I kind of like this green looking leaf here too. Now, even though that's got some cut sides, I'm going to keep it. Might be able to use that one. Might be able to use this one. Let's see, I've got that. I kind of like this big green one right here too. Will I use all of these? I don't know. We shall see. I'm sure, you know, as we're kind of playing here, but I think this is plenty of leaves to work with for now. So let's put our extra leaves over here in case we decide to use them. Okay, this one's going to be easy to cut. I'm just going to use my regular craft scissors for this. Super easy. And once it's in here, if you want to even cut it in like your paper cutter, you can, just to make sure everything's nice and straight. Okay, so you can have your little tag. And you can make it as skinny, whatever size you want to make it. I do like for a tag to look like a tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a corner at the top. And then to make sure that it matches, see how the corner goes like that? I'm going to flip it over. So it's just kind of mirrored on the other side. I'm flipping it over to use it as a template for that corner. And now it looks more like a tag. Okay. This one I'm also going to ink the edges too. Again, any of your browns, whatever colors you want to use. And yes, we can ink over Mod Podge because the chalk inks, what we do is we ink it And then we run our heat tool over it, and it kind of bakes the ink into the Mod Podge. Chalk inks are fabulous, you guys. And they come in all kinds of colors. So I'm just heat setting it, and it just kind of bakes it into the Mod Podge. I'll put it down. It's a little hot to hold. Now, I want to show you this also. When I did this tag, do you see how this tag is a little bigger? This one is a little smaller. All I did was just cut it down thinner. So if you want to cut it down thinner, you can. So your tag can really be whatever size you want it to be. Okay. As long as we keep the words in there, that's all that really matters. All right, let's cut acorns next. And then once everything's cut out, we're just building at that point. Yeah. You can keep a little bit of this blue on the outside edge. I'm not going to keep too much of the stem here. Those are just so little and delicate. They'll be a little hard. And I really like this little edge of blue on these. I think that looks really good. Okay, there's that one. We have a huge oak tree in our front yard. And as much as I love the acorns, I love them. When they start to drop from the tree, oh my gosh, our driveway looks like a war zone. It's so hard to keep them swept up. And then when the cars drive over them, they just, so I love them, but not when they start to drop. All right, that one has like a little thingy on the top, so I just kept the little thingy. Okay, there's my last one. Okay, so I saved probably what you guys might consider the hardest ones for last. This particular sunflower napkin is, it's got a lot going on, right? It's got a lot going on. But remember, I just want these two. I want these two connected sunflowers. So I'm not going to cut them apart. So I'm just going to kind of come in, and if it's hard to tell where, I'm just going to kind of do this to start. We'll cut that little edge off. I'm going to kind of cut away some of the excess here first, and then start kind of cutting around the details. So these are the two I'm going to use. All right, I hope that visually, I hope that seems a little better. If you want to keep some of the green leafy stuff with it, you can, but you don't necessarily have to, because we're going to have lots of fall leaves going on. So just the best that you can, just come in and start kind of cutting into these corners, these little, I call it a corner. It's not really a corner. The little places between the petals. Okay, just do the best that you can. Sometimes you may be kind of making up your own petal as you're cutting, and that's okay too. Same thing when we do our pen work. Some of these we're going to kind of turn into our own petals because it's just kind of hard to see. All right. Okay, so you can kind of see the top of that one. Not too bad. This isn't too hard. If it's kind of hard to tell where to cut, then just wing it. Just be creative with your cutting. All right. That's my 2. Okay, that's my 2. Yes. Yeah, Cheryl, we do sell it in tons of different colors. Our paper crafters love it. It's great for paper crafting. Gosh, they're great for so many things. They're good for inking the edges of all kinds of things. Okay, you guys ready to build? I think we're ready. I think we're ready. I'm going to do a little pin work as I go, as we're building. Okay, it's going to make it a little easier for us. So I'm going to stand this one up. I'm going to bring my pieces over. And you guys, I'm going to change my screen for this because I want to make sure that you can really tell what's going on here. So give me just a second to switch this up. All right, I'm going to make this solo. All right, so I'm going to bring my camera down a little bit. And I'm going to kind of push over some of these leaves and things and acorns and the tag. And we're going to bring back our shadow box. Okay. All right. First thing we're going to do, we're going to put in our pumpkin. Okay, we're going to put in our pumpkin. Now, I don't want the pumpkin way back here in the back. We want it to stand out. Everything about this shadow box is going to be kind of this 3D effect. So in your kits, you may get a couple of these little blocks like this. These are going to be really simple to just glue on the back. Okay, you may get one long block. You might get 2 little blocks like this, but just stick them on. Just hot glue is going to be fine for this. Now I'm going to put a blob of hot glue here and a blob of hot glue here, and we're going to set this down, just kind of eyeball the middle of your shadow box and just press it down. I'm missing some nails. Did y'all notice I had some nails pop? I'm desperately in need of a manicure. Hopefully I can get one over the next few days. We have a long weekend. Some of you have a long weekend. Who gets Monday off this week? I know I don't think postal runs or anything. It's Columbus Day. All right, here we go. You guys ready? We're going to start with the sunflowers. Okay, we're going to start with the sunflowers. What I'm going to do is come in with my pit pen. This is, I think, the medium size nib. We have pit pens that come in a pack of 4, where you get an extra small, a small, a medium, and a brush tip. So this is where I was saying we're just going to kind of get creative with our petals and start just kind of quickly doing this pin work. This pin work is going to look better if it's kind of wiggly. So those of you that have trouble with your hands being shaky, your pin work is actually going to look extra good. It looks good when they have a little bit of natural kind of motion to them, and they're not too perfect, especially on a napkin like this. So just kind of, if you can't really tell where a petal is, then we're just going to come in, and like I said, we're just going to kind of fake it wherever it needs to be. So you can kind of see the difference between one being done and one not being done. It's going to make a huge difference on your shadow box if you will do some pen work. You can come in and kind of do some fun little squiggles in the middle of some of these. Now let's go over here to this one. Some petals will look like they're behind, right where these two kind of come together. So again, we're just going to do the best we can with what's happening down here. This petal's kind of going up. This petal's going kind of up into the flower. Do one more kind of coming up. And then if you want to do any little kind of squiggly whatever, sometimes I do a straight line, sometimes I do kind of a what I call a double trace. And doesn't that look pretty? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. The faster you do it, I think the better they look, because you're not thinking. Now I'm just doing this kind of squiggly black line, just squiggly, squiggly, squiggly. I'm going to do some kind of here inside the sunflower too. You'll see those black squiggles. Do some over here too, just squiggle, 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 real close together. Pen work is not about perfection. It's the furthest thing from that. There are my sunflowers. All right, let's get ready to put them in. So the sunflowers, you guys, are going to go in kind of like this. I'm just going to lay them there. I don't have anything underneath them yet. I'm going to grab my foam tape. Sorry, I had to grab it over here. Foam tape can come in different sizes. You can use foam tape. Some of you that are paper crafters, you have pop dots, which are like circles or squares. Anything like that is going to work just fine. And then we're going to put some of these behind our sunflowers. And on the sunflower one, it's going to be double popped. Okay, double popped. So what does that mean? Double popped means 2 layers of tape. So I have 4 pieces of tape here on my fingers, and I have to look, there's nothing behind the sunflower right here. So I'm attaching these here and here where they touch the pumpkin. Okay, so that means my tape's going to go more like here. Peel off the backing here. It's double-sided. Back in the day, before we had double-sided foam tape and pop dots and all those kinds of things, I would just cut up cardboard boxes into little pieces and stack them. That was the old school pop dots. Yeah. Okay. Now the other thing we're going to do, so I have this double layered. There's 2 layers of foam tape. I'm going to put some hot glue, just a line of it on each. And then I'm going to do this. Now watch. See this little part right here, right there? I'm going to cut this straight because I want this straight piece going against the side of my shadow box. Now, I cannot guarantee you that this shadow box is going to look just like the other one, because depending on what you cut, I mean, and how you put it in, they're all going to look a little different. Okay. So we'll compare this one to the one I made for the one I previously made for my sample, and we'll see how you like it. Okay. All right. So it's popped. Hopefully you can kind of see the dimension. Dimension's hard to show on camera. Let me lift that up so you can kind of see the pop dots in there, or the foam tape in there. Yeah, it's not about perfection. This is really kind of an organic, fun kind of a look. All right, the next place I'm going to go is going to be right over here in this corner. Okay, this is this leaf option. And the reason I wanted to show you, the reason I don't always cut everything is because it's gonna, some of this is gonna go behind other things, right? It's gonna go behind other things. So this is actually perfect. Leaving this one with the corner, it's going to be just fine. Now we're gonna add our pen work. How are we doing out there? Tiffany says, I have to remind myself every time, no perfection with pen work. That's right. And with leaves, it's especially so. I be kind of wiggly, like with the edges. Hang on, and I'll show you what this is going to look like. And then, you know, it's up to you. How do you want to do the veins? Sometimes you can really see the veins really well from a napkin, but look at the edges of my leaf, right? I kind of bubble cut around it, but when I did my pen work, which is what your eye is going to go to, I did it kind of wiggly. Okay, let's do this one. And again, leaves aren't like super smooth. I mean, they can be wiggly. And you can do that kind of double trace. All right, and let's do this leaf with all these little points. Just kind of come in. I think what happens with pen work is we're looking too closely. So like after you do a leaf or a sunflower, hold it away from yourself. That's what you need to do. Hold it away from yourself and don't look at it so closely. Like sometimes I feel like we look at our stuff like we're looking through a microscope when really we need to be looking at it at a distance. And then I'm just going to come in and kind of add in some veins. I'm just put them wherever you want to put them. Okay. We got another little, some kind of a leafy thing happening down here. So even though we don't see it all, we still need to maybe just pop in a few lines or just something on that bottom part. Okay. All right, let's put this one in. This one, you guys, is going to go in with a single piece of tape. And where is it going to touch the most? Kind of right in here. So I'm going to do two pieces, but I'm not going to stack them on top of each other. I'm going to put one here. And I'm going to put one here. Okay, you have to think about where is it going to touch the pumpkin. And then eventually, once we get some of these in here, we'll be attaching to the leaves or the sunflowers or those kind of things. Okay, so I put my glue down. And I'm going to slide this behind. Remember this, the sunflowers have 2 layers of tape. And this one's only going to have 1. So now my sunflowers, and you can kind of curl, you know, we can come in. They're nice and sturdy because we put that top coat of Mod Podge on there. And kind of curl your leaves. Now we have that section in there. Okay. All right, now let's go over here. We need to kind of fill in this gap right here. And how do we want to do that? I think I'm going to cut off one of these leaves. And again, everybody's can look a little different, right? Everybody's can look a little different. So I was kind of thinking, oh, we might have to cut off 2 of these. Let's cut off this little baby leaf here too. All right, we have to think about how this is going to fit and what's it going to attach to. So I'm going to kind of bring it like this, right? So what's it going to attach to? It's going to attach to this part of the sunflowers right there. All right. You guys like it? Oh, Miss Tracy, you missed a leaf with pen work. The small rust. Oh, I sure did. Thank you. Thank you for noticing that. Sure, it won't be the last one. All right, let's do some pen work on these. So it looks like this top leaf is the one that's overlapped. So again, I'm going to be kind of squiggly with the edges of the leaf. Do a little vein going up. Make these kind of curved. Okay. All right, let's get this one where it needs to go. So I'm kind of thinking on this one, we're going to go a little bit more here. So really, this is the leaf. This leaf is the one that needs to get our we popped up. I always have to go back and double check because we're just trying to kind of fill that gap right there. So yes, it's going to go on this leaf right here. And this one I'm going to double. Now when you do yours, you can decide however you want to do these, but it is fun to have some of them double stacked, right? The whole point of 3D art is to have things at different heights, different levels, all those things. So that's the only place it's going to go. And boom, boom, boom. And I'll let it just touch right there. Just hold it for a second. Perfect. Okay, so it's just kind of fill in that gap. I'm going to kind of hold it like this so you can see the little pop dot or popped up part in there. I'm using foam tape, but I call them pop dots. I call them both. Okay. I think it might be fun to maybe we want to put another leaf in here. And I think let's do maybe a gold one. I don't know, the gold. I think I like the gold up here. What if we put a green one? I gotta think about this. Or this could be acorns. Ooh, the acorns look good right there. Okay, I think I'm going to go with acorns right here. Okay. Remember this leaf that had the little piece on it? Again, these little pieces can help us because like if we do decide to put something like this somewhere, it can kind of go at the bottom. So we're going to hang on to those. I usually like to do the, yeah, I'm thinking maybe these two up top and maybe a green one up top. Okay, I'm feeling good. This could also be a big one. Okay, I think I'm going to do the double. I'm going to do the double acorns right here. Okay. Now remember, it's almost impossible to make these look exactly the same. So please just have fun with your project. I'm going to show you both of these in a minute. You'll have two pictures to go by. I'm only going to put one piece of foam tape on this one, on these acorns, and it's going to need to go up kind of high. So when I say one, I put two pieces on, but I didn't double stack them. Okay, so single stack, just single. I also did not do my pen work on them yet, so let me do that real quick. I really didn't do too much on these. I think these look just amazing the way they are. So just kind of an outline coming down. You can do like a little swoop, something like that. So not much. They don't need much. They're beautiful. Hot glue again. All right, and I'm going to kind of slide them in right there. Pretty, 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 pretty. So, oh. I forgot I laid those up there. I just wanted you to see. Doesn't that blue look pretty against the yellow with the red? It looks so good to me. Okay, I'm going to save these 3 for the top. Let's go ahead and put a couple more acorns down here. So these will just be single stacks. I know this was a long workshop, but I hope you're enjoying yourself. I'm going to put one right here. So it's just kind of laying there. I'm going to put another one up here. Maybe right in there. Okay, let's do another one. I promise we're almost done. Yes, if you have to get off, if you have to leave, it's okay. The replay will be here. And we're going to send you the replay link. It will be, Cheryl will be putting it on the your order histories or whatever. So that way when you go back in, if you get a kit, you can go back in and grab the replay link. Plus it'll stay right here in my video library on my Facebook page. So make sure if you're not already following my page that you follow, and it will make it easier for you to get back here. All right, let's put this one kind of, I'm going to tuck this one, tuck it kind of under that leaf. That is pretty, except for I think I'm going to move it the other direction because these are all going, that's going that direction. Yeah, that looks good. All right, let's do the top real quick. And then, you know, it's one of those things where we may go back in and I may add some extra leaves here and there. We'll just play with it, decide where I want this to be. So these are the ones I'm thinking about doing up at the top. I thought it would be pretty to have some at the top of the pumpkin by the stem. And again, just get creative with your vein work. This one already has a lot of what looks like pin work. So I'm going to try to incorporate this one in here too. Alrighty. First one that's going to go down is going to be the screen one. Single stack. I want to have it going kind of like this direction. We're going to put a bow up here and a button. And then I want this one kind of coming down. So this one's going to be a single stack, single layer. About there. And then this red one, I'm going to do a double stack on. Okay, this red one's going to be a double stack, which means 2 pieces of tape. And I'm going to tell you how to clean your scissors here in just a second, because when you cut double-sided foam like this a lot, your scissors can get kind of gunky. And you will not believe me when I tell you what works. What works best on them is makeup remover wipes. I know, I told you you wouldn't believe me. All right, this one's going to just go kind of on top of both of these, actually, both of the other 2 leaves. So you can see that it's double stacked. But makeup remover wipes cleans that gunk off the scissors. I don't even know how it works, but it does. It works amazingly. Okay, I still have some other leaves. I still have a couple other things that I can come in and I can add, right? Plus, I have other leaves I can cut. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next steps, because I think you get it, right? Like, you get the whole layering thing. So let's go ahead and go to our little goodie bag here from the kit. Oops. You're going to have a button, a wood stained button. You're going to have a little piece of jute. You're going to have some of this beautiful crocheted lace. So the first thing I want you to do is take a little piece of this lace and just create a knot. Just a kind of a loose knot. Do a little slant cut or something on the tails. Okay. And this little piece is going to go right here. And if you need to, like right here, I'm going to snip this part of my leaf off. It's just kind of in the way. So it's okay to prune wherever you need to prune. And I'm going to put some hot glue down here, and I'm running out of hot glue. Let me reload. So I'm going to put a little blob of glue. And I'm going to put this knot right in place. And you can kind of turn the tails however you want them to go. See how it's kind of almost a little snuggled underneath this double stacked leaf, that red leaf? Cute. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take this jute that's in your kit. I love the 3D effects too, Debbie. It's just so, I mean, I love doing these. Had so much fun doing them. And these shadow boxes are just perfect. So I'm just making myself a little bow. And some of you are big bow people. Some of you are little bow people. Just decide what size you want. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot in the tail. Oops. Didn't quite grab all the pieces there, but I think it'll be okay. We'll just trim it and unravel it. Okay. And then this side, the same thing. So cute. Except for this one's might be too long. All right, I got to tie another knot. This is the one that I goofed up on anyway, so we'll make it look better. This tail is just a little too long. There, that's better. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, now when I put this bow on, it's gonna kind of go on the knot. Just put a little bit of hot glue on the knot of that pretty crocheted lace, and we're layering. So even this part, we're layering. Everything about this project is layer after layer after layer. Okay, layer, layer, layer. And then I'm going to put this cute little wood stained brown button that is somewhere on the table. Oh, there it is. And it kind of has an indentation on one side, This is the side I'm going to put down because it's going to go kind of right on top of that knot. So I'm going to put that side down. And look how cute. Look how cute that is. We have the little clustered leaves up there. Our pretty crocheted lace. Isn't that beautiful? I think that's so, so pretty. So now with your tag, okay, and you don't, the tag is optional. You guys can use this tag or not use this tag. I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to do another knotted piece of lace. Just a small piece. It won't take much. And again, just kind of a slant cut. And I'm going to glue this to the top of the tag that we made. That's all I'm putting on the tag. Actually, it sure would be cute to maybe put an acorn. Never mind. I'm going to put an acorn. I have this acorn right here. I should go ahead and use it. So let me do a little pin work on here. You can also do some pin work on your tag if you choose to. You could outline some of these little leaves. You could go over some of the words if you feel like they're not showing up very well. I did that on my other tag, so I'll show you in a second. So let's put on single layer here to pop this up. Again, some hot glue. Oh, that's cute. That's too cute. So I added my extra little acorn on the tag. Okay. Now, this is going to be completely optional, but you're going to have a lot of this left. So if you love the look of crocheted lace, if you want to, you can actually put this around all the sides of your shadow box. Okay, so every single side, I didn't do anything funny to the corners. I just took it right off the edge. Okay, so let me get one edge down here, and I'm going to use hot glue for this, and watch what I'm doing. I'm drizzling the hot glue. You maybe even can hear it, but I'm dragging the tip through the hot glue. So it's very thin. And then I'm just going to lay my lace. Just think of it like a little roadway right down through it. Now I'm going to come back up at the top, and I'm going to kind of put a little more glue on that edge, because I'll come and I will trim that edge off. Super simple. I'll go ahead and do the top edge. Again, right on top. Drizzle and drag. Kind of doing like loop-de-loops. Drizzle and drag. I like this lace. I think the reason I like this is because we're adding texture, right? We're adding some really pretty texture to our front of our box. And like I said, this is optional. If you don't want to use your crocheted lace in this way, then use it on something else. It's going to be in your kit anyway. You can choose how you want to use it. Oh, I got that one all the way down. That's good. This one, just again, a little bit of glue. We're going to do it one more time. I love texture. Drizzle and drag. So this glue is really thin and work fairly quickly. Also, this lace has got a little stretch to it, so you can kind of stretch it. Trim off right to the edge. trim off to the edge. If you need any other little bit of glue, just add that. I think that one's good. All right, last edge. And then we're going to look at both of these together because they look different, but they're both equally as beautiful. So I'll take pictures of both. Well, we have pictures of one. I'll take pictures of this one that we made today as well, and that will give you even more inspiration. I love this little detail tip on my hot glue gun. Man, it sure does make a difference. All right, look how pretty that is. What is that? All right, just kind of cross those over. Now, this guy can go really anywhere you want it to go. If you want it to go kind of up here at the top, it can go here. If you want it to go down low, it could go down low. And the fun thing about this is because we've already glued all of this, again, I'm going to use the foam tape, and then I can decide wherever I want it to go. Okay. I'm going to use the foam tape. The foam tape is just going to grab it. It's almost like a temporary hold. So it's going to grab it. And then when you get ready to store this after the season, you'll easily be able to just take this back off. And you can put your tag wherever you want it to go. Isn't it so pretty, you guys? I'm still probably going to add a couple leaves down here in the bottom, I think. But I don't know. I think it looks so pretty.